Kevin, mate, I've got a little birdie that's showing me you're calling from Spain. How's that treating you?
I'm good, good. We're having an interesting time over here, getting my hands dirty, which was where I like to be best. If anybody, the shareholders know who I am. So yeah, so they were making some pretty good progress over here. The weather's nice, and
I'm very
it's
jealous.
yeah, yeah, no, it's a beautiful site here. So we just acquired this in January,
Okay.
this operation, and then we hired a couple individuals to help us with the production. And then yeah, as you know, I'm a metallurgist, so I come over to
Yeah.
give them a little hand here. So yeah, we're making some really good progress through this operation. We have the two sorters now installed, up and
Yeah.
running. We got the jigs working at efficiency. We got the spirals working at efficiencies, the tables, and now we're working on the final recovery on the flotation end of the plant. So yeah, we're really excited from what we're seeing so far, I must say.
Oh, that's great to hear. Well, ladies and gentlemen, just for a bit of context, thanks for kicking us off, Kev. This is just going to be a pretty casual Q&A chat interview. So if any participants have any questions they'd like to submit, feel free to submit them through the Q&A function on Zoom. I've got a couple here from investors and a couple from myself. Now we'll just kick things off, with Solara and with everything going on in Spain. Now, obviously, you just talked about a few of the tangible changes that have been undertaken at Solara since the acquisition. Realistically, what other changes have gone on since the acquisition? And we have an investor here that's asking when you anticipate the operation to potentially become cash flow positive.
Good, interesting question for sure. So this is a very large plant. It had investment of about 200 million Australian dollars put into it. They had a lot of the pieces kind of in the wrong, not operating correctly under the right parameters. In saying that, it's very large, but it's very simplistic, the plant. So as I was saying in the introduction, like what EQ specialty is technology, and what we see with tungsten is the capability to sort the ore up front and take the pressure off the gravity processing plant. So we quickly have installed two XRT sorters now, and that reduces the mass by 10 times what you put into the front end. So I'm able to see recoveries coming up quite significantly, especially in the last week or so. We made some real changes on the final recovery where it was throwing away a lot of tungsten. So we're pretty excited here. I must say, from this visit, we're seeing, and this plant has potential really to even dwarf carbine, right? It's so large. It does about 3 times the capacity of carbine's capability. So it's a very large plant. So to answer your question, I think in the next quarter we'll be profitable at Solero.
Oh, well, that's really positive news. So thank you for that clarification. Now, just moving on to a couple of others. Is there any seasonality to the production schedule at Solara? And what is the steady state production target that you guys are currently aiming for?
Yeah, at Carbine, we had a couple of issues with production equipment, in particular the screening plant and our crushing, which is always our Achilles heel at Carbine. But on that operation, we're trying to get that steady state at about 200 tons a month, and very similar here at Solero. It has the capability to go much larger than that, but they make a very high quality product here. So what I would say is, like, we're targeting between the two operations to get to be about 400 tons of 50% equivalent
Right.
tungsten concentrate.
Gotcha. All right. Now, obviously, seasonality is worth something considering, as well as, the current tungsten price. Now, that's fairly strong at the moment. Based on its current strength, are there any operating planning and production at Solara that you're able to, to blend into different grade material to take advantage of that better price?
Yeah, we're ramping as much as we can. We don't see the price coming down anytime soon, so there's no rush. We see it going north, and just from the supply demand fundamentals that we're seeing in the market. I've hosted 3 different off takers here in the last couple of weeks, and and one coming, sorry, 2 and then 1 coming. But everybody is scrambling to try to find supply. And EQ with both Solero and Mount Carbine in the Western world is a very, very significant supplier of tungsten. So yeah, so so what we're trying to do is just like ramp up, I guess, as much as possible that we can, and there's great potential here at Solero to do that. Carbine, I think we're reached its kind of its capacity. We don't
Okay.
see yeah, we don't see much more except when it comes to head grade coming in later in next year.
Oh, well, it's good to hear about further potential increases. Now, obviously, it does appear like in the shorter term, Kevin, you're fairly bullish on the tungsten prices. How about the medium to longer term, the next 3 to 5 years? How do you reckon the price is going to reflect kind of the market transition?
It always tungsten always depends on China, like what they do. They control 83% of the world's tungsten. Russia got a 2 or 3, 4%. North Korea now is becoming a little bit of a player. So it depends what happens to those players, right? We see them using more and more of their own tungsten in supply and downstream, making tools and using it within, and there's less and less available to the Western world. So
Okay.
that's why Solero and Carbine are so important as tungsten suppliers, because tungsten is virtually used in everything, Ryan. Like in cutting tools and grader blades and bulldozers and you name it, right? Drill bits, and so it's without it, really economies will grind to a halt.
Yeah. All right. Well, now
Yeah.
just briefly, just to pivot through to the Mount Carbine project. I've got a question here. Can you give us a bit more detail on the throughput of Mount Carbine in both grade and volume?
So what at Carbine, it's a little different because we run sorters on both sites. So at Carbine, we generally run about 2,000 tons a day through the operation, through the front end sorters. And of that 2,000 tons, 3/4 of it goes to the sorters. And then that gets reduced by 10 times. So let's say if you put 2,000 tons in the head feed, you got 1,200 tons hitting the sorters, and of that 1,200 tons, you get 120 to 200 tons hitting the gravity plant. So at Carbine, we do about 2,000 tons. At this operation here, we feel with the sorters, we'll probably get up to 3,000 tons a day operation.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
It's pretty, I feel like most individuals would be fairly happy with those numbers. So thank you much for that clarification. Now, can you
And
give us,
sorry, Ryan, just
yeah,
butt in one more time. So at Soloro, the reason that we took it on is because we felt we could turn the recovery around. The recoveries were about 40%.
okay,
I think we've announced that we've got them up to 50 to 55%. And I think just stand by. I think we will be having another bump up in that recovery in the very near future. So we should have an announcement out. I just want to stabilize the production over a period of time, but we're pretty bullish right now on Solero of achieving those targets.
okay. So with both projects in mind, which one do you think will be cash flow positive first?
I think they're both. I think Carbine, we have a lot of stripping to do at Carbine up until Christmas of this year, and we're trying to manage that stripping with ore feed coming in. So I think Carbine is going to be a little bit of a wash, but I think you're going to see Solero turn the corner here fairly hard into the positive in the very near future in the next quarter. So I think globally as a company, Carbine's probably now like in the next next few months will be more of a break even, where Solero is going to start to shine fairly bright. And then carbine, once you get past a certain point on stripping, and then you're down on to almost 1-to-1 ore to waste ratio, and then it really prints money. It really prints a lot of money. So that's what we're seeing. And we're doing a lot of infill drilling at carbine right now, because the first 20-30 meters of the ore body, we kind of misinterpret it and diluted the ore, and we had a lot of struggles on that side of things. So we've drilled a whole bunch more drilling into the pit to understand where the zones are, and we're finding some very nice grades in the infill.
Okay. Oh, it's always positive to see some of that stuff coming out. Now, just the last one regarding this set of questions I've got in front of me. Now, what's the target production rate, for Mount Carbine and Solero, for 2024, 2025, and just, in the longer term?
I'd like to, by the close off this year, getting to 400 tons of 50% equivalent a month from both operations. On a quarterly basis, I'd like to get up to 1,200 tons. At Solero, and they make but on a 50% equivalent concentrate rate, that's what I would like to achieve on both operations. And then when you get into the higher, you get into 300-400 tons of concentrate a month when you get into some of these higher grade at the 295 level, and at carbine in the next year as well. Sorry, excuse me.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that update. Now, I'm just going to pivot here to a different line of questioning from a couple of different participants here. Now, first up, obviously, with both the major projects looking to be turning a profit, within the short term, kind of ideally within, the next calendar year, holistically as a company, when is EQR positioned to become a cash flow positive operation?
Like I said, I would hope with the Solero kicking in and carbine being neutral for the rest of the year, this in the October quarter, on the calendar quarter of this year, I think we would see the company becoming cash flow positive.
Okay, all right, that's great. Great clarification. Couple of others here. Got one here that states why EQR felt so compelled to pay off Oaktree's debt obligation of £10 million when Oaktree issued a statement that it will hold the obligation for an additional 2 years.
It was we certainly work with our partner Oaktree. It's pretty important for Oaktree to relinquish this debt, so yeah, it was a give take. We had a lot of discussion around it, but we felt it was best for the company ultimately to reduce the debt, in particular to see those levels come down from 35 million euros to 25 million euros on this operation. So yeah, we were happy to be able to do that and to get that down. So we are restructuring that debt into a longer term facilities as well. So we're actively working on that restructure currently.
Oh, thank you for that clarification, Kev. Now, given the recent raise on the open market, will there be enough funds to see the company through to profitability of both mines? And on that basis, is there potential for a special dividend down the line for retail investors, given that they missed out on the opportunity to get in on the raise?
A tough question, that one. I see that. Again, that's a board decision that would be looked at. I mean, obviously, we're a junior mining company, right? And we need to be in solid profitability on both operations. We have great expansion plans. We have Wolfram Camp. We need to expand. So I think it's more of a growth story for the next couple of years in the company. Is what I would say to that.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that one. Now, just based on the fact that, you're looking at both mines becoming cash flow positive within the short term, it sounds like things are really starting to turn around. Are you happy with how the company and the mines are progressing at the moment?
Solero a little further along than it is. Great progress over the last month here at Solaro. We're getting very high recoveries in the front end of the plant, and it's really just down to the one section now on the final recovery. And I think we've made some really good progress in that in the last 2 weeks in particular, starting to see the concentrate flow. It's still early days. It's very early days on this, right? So I would just want to get a month or so under my belt so we understand completely the effects and cause and effects of different ores coming out of the pit. We see different recoveries. So it is a bit more complicated than carbine, the ore processing here. But I'm very cautiously optimistic right now.
Oh, it's really positive to hear, Kevin. Now, I've just got another question here from an attendee. How is the planning going for the UG operation at Carbine?
Yeah, the planning is going straight ahead. We are cleaning up the portal area. We haven't opened it up yet, but we're prepping the in front of the portal. We're also working on the safety and facility up. So we're really excited. So the first step, the geotech is on site on the 1st of July. So we're hoping he may be able to take a first look at it and see, but that depends on the safety guys at Department of Mines. So we're going through that process currently. We did have permission to go in, and then we're just updating it because we let it lapse a little bit. So we're looking at going in the very near future, taking a look at it, and then it'll be like a tender process to who's going to support the mine and develop it underground.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. We just got a follow-up question based on that one. Is obviously, how long is the tender process suggested to last for? Okay, when do you reckon you'll be able to get somebody actually in there underground to start, beginning with the preliminary work?
Sorry, the connections.
That's all right. Have we got you now, Kev?
I think let's we need to see would be, and then how much and with the QIC getting that funds, and then we want to get in and drill. In particular is the underground. We want to drill off in more detail before we get too excited there. We need to do more drilling, which we're currently drilling every day now with the RC rig around the ore body.
Okay. And when can investors participate results on those drillings?
Yeah, the big constant. I mean, obviously, I would get shot if I told you exact timing and stuff like that from the stock exchange. But we're actively drilling consistently, so yeah, we could expect a little update on that underground. But we're seeing some very exciting things, and I know you're new to the Carbine story, but we certainly have an elevation control on the deposit, and we're seeing some really high grades in the drilling coming at these lower levels. Right, which bodes well for the underground, because that's where we're targeting for the underground, is the deepest part of where the open pit stops, and then the ore body continues. And we're only talking that we're mining 20% in the open pit, and the rest will be underground.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that one. Appreciate the update. Now, another one here. Given that the EQ technology is fully implemented across both sites, which is the more profitable site? Long term, do you see the relative scale of both sites staying 2-1? Solaro to Carbine, or?
It's interesting. I think different times and different years, like in the modeling that we have, the different mines are better. One's better than the other, and the other's better. So that's what's good about having a 2-mine operation, is that you start to get more stability across the group, as opposed to one single operation that you're dependent on. So yeah, so I hope that answered the question.
Yeah, it did. It did. Now, unfortunately, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask the elephant in the room. Now, I do understand if you can't comment on this one, but can you give investors an update on the CoronaNet deal, or is your mouth sealed?
Right now, just stand by. We're fairly close on announcements and stuff like that. So I would prefer just to, it's been a very intense negotiation. I can tell you one thing is that the share price that was negotiated a year ago is still going to stand on that deal. It's not going to change. So that's the one positive that we have in the deal. So it's just a matter of closing it off. It's a lot of tax issues that we've been dealing with, and trying to find the best solution for both partners in a tax solution here. So that's been the hold up on that Cronimet deal. But again, there's been no revenue leave the site. Any profit revenue from the joint venture has stayed into the operation.
Okay. All right. Well, again, I thoroughly appreciate the update in that regard. Well, look, realistically, Kevin, that about wraps it up for me and any questions I've been sent through. Is there anything you'd like to add?
No, I think just yeah, it's we are a junior miner. It is a work in progress, but I think carbide has been quite stable again this quarter. We've made a lot of changes in the crushing plant, in particular the existing crushing plant. We have the Sandvik crushing plant that we're looking to install. So it's been a work in progress, but yeah, it's been we've been hitting some runs on the board. So let's see what we'll come out with a quarterly shortly. So and hopefully some news around that before then.
Absolutely great to see. Well, that about wraps everything else for us. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you very much, Kevin, for your time. We always really appreciate it. And just for everybody's knowledge, this one will be uploaded to the Sharewise YouTube channel if anyone would like to watch it back. So once again, thank you very much. And thank you again, Kev.
Try it.